a very odd component of this for me is the fact that this man was working in the kitchen. Now, work in prisons, I think you've had on Times Radio recently Charlie Taylor, and he's spoken about a number of things in prison, not least the fact that there's not much work, not much employment. Working in the kitchen is a very privileged job for prisoners who are trusted, who are known, who are seen as reliable. And although remand prisoners can and should work, they tend to be, if you like, at the back of the queue. But if I was running Wandsworth, I mean, someone like this on remand for very, very serious charges, having a very privileged job, number one, but also a privileged job where there is, by its very nature, a lot of toing and froing, vehicles coming in and out. So it's a high risk environment for any prison. So quite why he was working there, I find quite astonishing.
Suspected terrorist Daniel Khalife fled a Category B prison, hanging on to the bottom of a delivery van, dressed as a chef. Authorities consider him likely to try to escape. We spoke to the Cabinet Minister, Michelle Donlan, about what the government was doing.
I've spoken to the Justice Secretary about this case, and I know that he is tackling it. He's already taken action, speaking to the governor of the prison. There's an investigation that's been launched into this very question. And also there's a great deal of work to try and find this person, which I think is the number one priority at the moment.
So what kind of process is in place? Are you checking to make sure that no other suspected terrorists are in the wrong type of prison, in this case a Category B type prison?
So it's my understanding it's not as black and white about that as that. So there is an investigation checking that he was in the correct facility, but it's not as black and white as my understanding as to what category somebody under arrest for those types of crimes should be in.
So you're not going to be reviewing other prisoners to ensure they're in the right place?
I'm sure that if this highlights any failings, then action will be taken and mitigations will be put in place.
Do you think he was in this prison because Belmarsh, where we would expect a suspected terrorist would be held, doesn't have space?
So in general, it's no secret that prison capacity has been an issue and one that we are tackling. That's why we're investing money to upgrade our prison estate and to increase the number of places by 20,000.
Let's find out more. We can go live to Wandsworth Prison now, where Nick Ellerby, Times Radio reporter, is there. Nick, so the hunt's underway to try and find Daniel Khalife.
Good morning, Rosie. Yeah, well, more than underway. It's almost 24 hours now since that daring escape of Daniel Khalife. We believe just before 8 o'clock yesterday morning. And, you know, as your coverage on the station shows, there are still many more questions than answers. How did he manage to get out of the prison, clinging onto the bottom of that food truck? Did he have anyone helping him? If he's alone, it's really an incredible achievement. And also, you know, what exactly happened? Why weren't those checks carried out? But still, the main question is, where is he? The search is being led by London's Metropolitan Police. They're still concentrating on London. Daniel Khalife is known to have a network and connections in Kingston, which is in southwest London, not too far from Wandsworth Prison here. But, you know, the search is nationwide. There are huge checks going on at ports and airports. People can expect delays if they're trying to get away. And the police have actually asked the public, they've asked us to help out. You know, I think we might be the key to finding him.
The media. Nick Ellerby, thank you so much. Times Radio's reporter at Wandsworth Prison this morning. To give you an idea, he's thought to be wearing a white shirt, red and white checkered trousers, brown steel toe cap boots. As what's been made very clear from Nick, the search is still on. Daniel Khalife was awaiting trial when he escaped. John Podmore is a former prison governor and inspector who joins us now. John, once it's been 24 hours, how difficult is it to find someone who's gone missing like this?
Well, it depends on the nature of escape. If it was opportunistic, spur of the moment, then he won't get very far, and history tells us that they're very quickly found. If, however, and I suspect this is the case in this one, this was planned and premeditated and involved a number of people, then it's going to be much more difficult, and he may already be away and gone and abroad.
So what does a chase like this entail to try and track him down?
Well, it involves previous contacts. It involves his background, his associates, and I'm sure security services will be all over it. But the big issue here is how was this allowed to happen? Now, I used to govern Belmarsh. I oversaw building of most of the security infrastructure there, and I spent years dealing with Cat A's. And I disagree with Michel Donnellan. My view is that he should have been in there either as a Category A or as a Category B. And the issue of room is not a problem with somewhere like Belmarsh. Somewhere like Belmarsh will be full, but not overcrowded. So one, he should have been in Belmarsh. Two, escaping under a vehicle going through what we call the airlock, for want of a better phrase. Now, that's kind of routine stuff. You search the top, you search the bottom. There are mirrors on top, mirrors underneath. You look inside. Now, that's basic security. Now, if that's about inexperienced staff, bad management, too few staff, that needs to be looked at. But a very odd component of this for me is the fact that this man was working in the kitchen. Now, work in prisons, I think you've had on Times Radio recently, Charlie Taylor, and he's spoken about a number of things in prison, not least the fact that there's not much work, not much employment. Working in the kitchen is a very privileged job for prisoners who are trusted, who are known, who are seen as reliable. And although remand prisoners can and should work, they tend to be, if you like, at the back of the queue. But if I was running Wandsworth, I mean, someone like this on remand for very, very serious charges, having a very privileged job, number one, but also a privileged job where there is, by its very nature, a lot of toing and froing, vehicles coming in and out. So it's a high risk environment for any prison. So quite why he was working there, I find quite astonishing.
You've laid out some of the obvious questions that are being asked this morning. What is interesting is, had he been in a Category A prison, can you explain just the differences in terms of the level of security that would make an escape like this much more difficult?
Well, first of all, someone like him would not have been allowed access to somewhere like the kitchen for the reasons that I just outlined. Someone like him would not be allowed into what we know as a sterile area. So around the gate is an area that is not for free access of prisoners. Prisoners are checked more regularly. There is much better security in terms of cameras. There are much better processes and procedures in terms of counting prisoners. I mean, very often, someone like Belmarsh, vehicles would not be allowed in or out unless all the prisoners had been counted. And Belmarsh has had a tradition of housing prisoners. There haven't been any escapes from there. I mean, there have been issues in terms of the discipline of people charged with and serving sentences for terrorism, but it's a much tighter regime. It will also contain, I mean, Belmarsh holds about 1,000 prisoners, but there will also be people there who are serving very, very short sentences or on remand looking at very short sentences. And they could go to somewhere like Wandsworth rather than someone like this who poses a much greater threat to the public. And I think we should see this in the round. Our prison system is in crisis. Their prisons are underfunded, they're overcrowded, they're understaffed, they're badly managed, and we have an excellent chief inspector of prisons, an excellent chief inspector of probation, who are cataloguing the failures of the prison and probation system on a daily basis. And all the respective politicians in the Labour Party and the Tory party saying is, well, we're going to get tough. It's an empty rhetoric. The prison system and the probation system, and indeed the wider criminal justice system, is in crisis. I mean, this man was waiting a year to go to trial. That's actually small beer in the scheme of things. But this escape needs an independent inquiry. What will be happening now is there will be an internal inquiry. It will be a whitewash. It will be done by someone in-house, and that for me is not acceptable. So the Labour Party should be demanding a full independent inquiry into this. And I think, as I've called and a number of people have called in the past, we need a Royal Commission into criminal justice in general. It was in the 2019 Queen's speech. Some £1 million has been spent on doing what I don't know. But we have a criminal justice system in crisis, and this is a manifestation of it. Well,